Clash of Champions, the night where every WWE Championship is on the line, is almost here. While the odds of several title changes are possible, just who will emerge victorious? Join us now as wrestlelamia predicts all the winners and losers from the 2020 edition of Clash of Champions. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Let's start off with what is the kickoff match. The Raw Women's Championship match between champion Asuka versus Zelina Vega. This match could be much better than it looks on paper, depending on Vega's preparation. Although Zelina Vega is best known in the WWE for managing, she's wrestled plenty of times in the past, including a run in TNA Wrestling where she held a Knockouts Tag Team Championship. Of course, on the other end of the spectrum, Asuka is a skilled competitor who can carry opponents to a good match, and with any luck, Vega won't be weighed down with ring rust. This match is a big one for Vega, not so much because she has a chance to win the title, there's a good chance she won't, but because it's a chance for the WWE to see if she should be added to the women's ranks as a competitor and not just a manager. Now, we personally think that she's better used as a manager, but when has the WWE listened to us or any other fans for that matter? Our prediction? Look for Asuka to get the win after a spirited fight from Zelina Vega. Now we move on to the main show, as we have a SmackDown Women's Championship match between champion Bayley versus Nikki Cross. Once again, the match isn't about the women's title, but about individual storylines for both wrestlers. Bayley is embroiled in her new feud with Sasha Banks, while Nikki Cross is trying to save her friend Alexa Bliss from The Fiend's devilish dominance. The fact that Bayley and Nikki are fighting over the belt is secondary to their storylines, and it's likely fans will see both Banks and Bliss involved in this match in one form or another. While there's the chance that Cross might win the belt with Banks' interference, setting up a world title program against Bliss, we think Banks will interfere on Bayley's behalf to ensure that she keeps the belt. Naturally, the boss isn't doing this to help Bayley, but to help herself, as she wants to become the one to capture the belt from Bayley, sweetening her revenge on her former Golden Role Models partner. Bayley and Cross have had excellent matches before, and they should do so again at Clash of Champions, but ultimately the match is mere filler to further Banks vs Bayley and Bliss vs Cross. Our final prediction: Bayley retains the SmackDown Women's Championship. Next up is the Women's Tag Team Championship, as champions Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler take on the Riot Squad of Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan. The WWE wisely reformed the Riot Squad after the so-called feud between Riott and Morgan fizzled out faster than a Dolph Ziggler push, and although Riott and Morgan are a good tag team, the WWE seems determined to give Jax and Baszler time to antagonize each other further as uneasy partners until their team splits up. Does this do anything for the tag team division? Well, of course not, but the WWE cares even less about its women's tag division than it does its men's. Fans should expect the Riot Squad to come close to winning and for Jax and Baszler to almost come to blows due to their mutual disdain before settling down and defeating the Riot Squad. Our prediction: Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler retain the women tag titles. Next up, it's more tag team action as SmackDown Tag Team Champions Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro take on the Lucha House Party. Speaking of meaningless tag team division, the Blue Brand's pairing of Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura have given these two underutilized grapplers something to do besides count the lights. The team has a good chemistry and they're a valuable addition to the tag team ranks. Unfortunately, their match against the Lucha House Party seems to have one purpose: splitting that party up. With Kalisto acting more heelish every week, expect to see him part ways with Gran Metalik and Lince Dorado after they lose their match, and we may possibly see all three members of the trio going into singles action. Our final prediction: Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura retain the SmackDown Tag Team Championship. Next up is triple threat action, as it's a triple threat ladder match for the Intercontinental Championship, as champion Jeff Hardy takes on AJ Styles and Sami Zayn. Now, the WWE has a strong storyline driving this match, as Sami Zayn is claiming he never lost the IC Championship since he was stripped of the title, AJ Styles being AJ and whining that he was robbed when he lost to Jeff, and Jeff of course wanting to prove he's the undisputed IC Champion. This match is a classic in the making on paper, and barring injuries, should exceed all expectations. Jeff Hardy's career is synonymous with ladder matches, but Jeff needs to remember he's 43 when it comes to taking sick bumps. Is Jeff likely to hold back when it comes to performing some insane spots? Highly unlikely, and all fans can do is pray he doesn't get hurt. If the WWE gives this match enough time, it could be a match of the year candidate. So look for Jeff to get the win despite AJ and Sami coming close. Although Jeff's win should dispel any questions of who the undisputed IC champion is, The WWE needs to continue this program as it still has a lot of life in it. Our final prediction, Jeff Hardy retains the Intercontinental Championship. Next up is the final tag team bout of the night, which is the Raw Tag Team Championship match as champions the Street Profits take on Andrade and Angel Garza. Yeah, it's another tag title match featuring a team that seems headed for a breakup. Now, the Street Profits theoretically should have an easy win over Garza and Andrade, given the two's frequent fights over the last several weeks. While Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins are a skill team, they've been poorly booked like most of WWE's tag teams, and as incredible as it may seem, look for Andrade and Garza to defeat them. After all, WWE loves to give us a nice little swerve. Does this mean Andrade and Garza will patch things up, or will it lead to a short reign as they implode during their next title defense? Our final prediction, Andrade and Angel Garza become the new Raw Tag Team Champions. Next up is the United States Championship match as champion Bobby Lashley takes on Apollo Crews. Apollo Crews has been impressive in the ring and on the microphone ever since winning the US Championship, finally getting the opportunity to prove he has the look, wrestling skills and personality to rise up the WWE hierarchy. The only problem for Crews is that the WWE wants to use the belt to elevate Bobby Lashley and the Hurt Business, which leaves him chasing Lashley for the title. Like any good babyface, Crews has struggled to overcome the numbers advantage of Lashley's Hurt Business teammates Shelton Benjamin, MVP, and Cedric Alexander, not to mention the sheer dominance of the Almighty. If the WWE is serious about Crews' push, he'll regain the US Championship, but Clash of Champions isn't the right place or the time to do so, as Lashley needs a longer title reign. Expect another gutsy performance from Crews and keep your eyes out for Retribution, who have a score to settle with the Hurt Business. But our final prediction, Bobby Lashley retains the US Championship. Next up is the ambulance match for the WWE Championship as champion Drew McIntyre takes on Randy Orton. Although the ambulance match doesn't evoke memories of great matches, it does present the WWE with the opportunity to take the championship off Drew McIntyre while keeping him looking strong. Conventional wisdom had it that the WWE was going to put the strap on Orton at SummerSlam, but surprisingly, they didn't, instead giving McIntyre a win to further cement his legitimacy as a worthy champion. The WWE deserves credit for keeping the belt on Drew McIntyre despite the lack of crowds, anemic numbers on Raw, and similar situations that McIntyre has no control over. Now, they could have gone the easy route and put the belt on Randy Orton, thinking he might somehow pop the ratings, but the reality is that the Viper has done nothing to spike Raw's ratings either. Instead, they've given Orton's program with McIntyre some more time to develop, as well as introduce Keith Lee into the storyline, creating two contenders for the WWE Championship. As fans know, Vince McMahon is probably going to change his mind many times as to this Sunday's winner, but we predict that Orton will finally secure his 14th World Championship. Drew is going into this match with a fractured jaw, which will make Orton's win less dominant, and there's always the possibility of interference from Retribution and/or Keith Lee, which could make Drew look even stronger despite dropping the belt. Although there's been talk for months of Orton winning the championship so he can defend the title against Edge once the Rated R superstar returns from injury, there's no reason to expect Orton will hold the title that long. With Drew McIntyre and Keith Lee chasing Orton, and who knows which other wrestler might show up after the draft, the Viper's reign could be much shorter than expected, but we should see a big title change. Our prediction, Randy Orton wins the WWE Championship. And finally, it's time for the main event, as it's the Universal Championship match between champion Roman Reigns, who's with Paul Heyman, versus his cousin Jey Uso. It's good to see Jey Uso getting a chance in singles competition while brother Jimmy recovers from his knee injury. But regrettably for Jey, his Universal Championship match is going to be a tragic tale as it has one purpose, showcasing Reigns' new attitude as a monster heel. It's crystal clear that Roman is going to destroy his cousin in a squash match and continue pummeling him until he's shown the world what his new persona of SmackDown's Tribal Chief is all about. Look for Jey to do a stretcher job and possibly written off television to sell his beating. Things aren't going to go well for Jey, and they shouldn't, as the WWE wants to portray Reigns as the most destructive force in the WWE. Our prediction, Roman Reigns retains the Universal Championship. Now, although Clash of Champions doesn't have any big matches on the card, look for the WWE to end the show with a huge surprise as Brock Lesnar shows up. Lesnar won't attack anyone or interfere in any matches, but his WWE return will end the show on a cliffhanger, as fans wonder whether Heyman will return to managing Lesnar, turn his back on the Beast, or go to the sure-to-be disastrous route of managing both Lesnar and Reigns. But there you have it guys, our predictions for this year's Clash of Champions pay-per-view. Let us know yours in the comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already, follow us on Instagram and Facebook for exclusive lists, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.